You don't look like a clown for trying. You are not a clown. You are a clown if you give up because other people don't care, okay? And just because you like flop or like you get like 10 sales on your book or whatever, that's not a sign that you should stop. That's a sign that you should keep going. Alright, welcome back. I'm going to be talking about why you should keep making your art, whether that's visual art, writing, videos, dance, like whatever your art is, why you should continue making that even if not a single soul cares about your art or cares about what you have to say. Today's video is going to be divided into 4 separate points and I'm going to go through each of them one by one and they're all going to kind of come together cohesively. You can look at the timestamps to sort of see what my roadmap is going to be, but I definitely recommend that you watch the whole video because they all lead into one another. So my first point is to not let your productivity and your output rely on other people's validation. We're all taught from a very young age to chase certain types of validation and to receive reward for high performance, right? In school, if you study a lot and you do well on your tests, you get a good grade. And then your parents see your report card and they're like, oh my gosh, we're so proud of you. But the thing is that real life, you're not always going to get rewards for your hard work, and being good at something isn't always going to convince other people to care about your thing, especially if you're in the arts, because the arts are very weird and difficult to predict. Being in the arts isn't one of those things where if you take this certain program and you go down this path, you're definitely going to get this output, right? Like with art, there's no such thing as like you put in X amount of hours, you get this degree, you do this, and then boom, you're like a best-selling writer or you're a platinum record artist or whatever, right? Like that's not how the arts are. In real life, more specifically in the arts, there's really no metric of what's good or bad, and I think especially if you paint or you write or you make music or whatever, everyone's opinions about those things are very, very subjective. There's really no gold sticker that you're gonna get. There's no universal pat on the back that you're gonna get to validate you the same way that a letter grade on a test might. We're all kind of intrinsically programmed to have these ideas about what it means to succeed. All of these definitions of success that we gain from a young age are dependent on how other people perceive us. Are my parents proud of me? Are my teachers proud of me? Is society proud of me? You know, that's kind of what you're taught to think from a young age, and I think by unlearning what you're taught, that's how you find yourself and that's how you discover who you truly are. In the beginning, nobody is going to care about what you're making. Unless you're like some sort of nepo baby who's destined from birth to succeed as a musician or a model or whatever, nobody is going to care. Every artist who begins organically has been through a flop era or several flop eras. There are some writers who don't succeed until they're like 30th book, or some musicians who don't succeed until their 12th album, right? You need to get used to nobody caring. You might be like one of those extremely rare lucky people who somehow manage to succeed from the start, but that's very, very rare, and you should not let those people determine what success looks like for you. Because for the majority of people, you don't really get anything until you try many, many times, right? People who blow up on social media, for example, you might just be looking at their most recent viral post, but if you scroll down to the bottom of their page, you'll see that they had hundreds of posts with like 20 likes, right? You should just not depend on other people's opinions on you to determine whether or not you continue this path at all. People are very two-faced, right? Like one day they will love you, the next day they'll hate you. If you live for other people's validation, then you will die without it. If the only reason you keep going or the only reason you continue making your art is because other people are telling you that they love it or that like they think you have potential or whatever, that's just like you're already like dead in the water, because the moment people criticize you or the moment people stop glazing you, then you'll kind of feel like you have nothing left to do this for. People don't actually care, right? Like, unfortunately, that's just the way things are. Like, even people who seem like they will be there for you, like at the end of the day, the only one who's really there for you is yourself. Like the only one who can save you is yourself, right? So you have to be your biggest fan. So if you can't rely on other people's validation, then what should you rely on? You should rely on the reason that you started this project or this passion or this hobby in the first place. Because your desire to create is innate. Your desire to create is a part of you. I always tell people that being a writer is like having some sort of parasite or like a disease that like constantly demands your attention. It's not like I just wake up one day and decide like, I'm gonna be a writer. No, like when I was a kid, I just couldn't stop doing it. Like I just started writing stories during recess in like 3rd grade or something, and I just like never looked back. And I think that's the way that a lot of artists describe their passion. Oh, this isn't really something that I chose to be obsessed with. It's just something that calls me back every single time. Like I have all these ideas and I can't stop doing this thing. I can't help but make it a reality. I can't help but paint this painting or record this song or whatever. So remember that your desire to make this thing comes from within you. You want to write this book because it's something you care about. You want to make this song because it's a message that you want to convey. It's like when you're trying to do chores and your mom like tells you like, hey, you should take the trash out, like suddenly you don't want to do the trash anymore. But if you have this desire to like take out the trash, you're like gonna do it no matter what people say. It's kind of like that. Like the most powerful motivation comes from within you, and letting other people's perception of you determine whether or not you decide to get out of bed and do the thing. Like, do you even like the thing at that point? Do you actually like doing this activity, or do you just like the attention that you get from it? That's the difference between artists who are passionate versus just artists who have it as like a side hobby, right? Because the people who have the real passions are the people who are willing to suffer for their art. If you're not willing to like go through a flop era and you're not willing to accept a few L's before you have one success, then like, are you really that passionate? Like, I used to do like visual art, right? I used to draw, but I stopped doing it because I realized it wasn't really my passion, because I wasn't willing to suffer for it. I wasn't willing to put myself through hundreds of hours of sitting down and making bad art in order to make something good. But with writing, I was willing to make bad writing in order to write something good. So that's how I knew writing was my passion instead of visual arts. So I think what you should do is to embrace and rediscover the reason that you started this project to begin with, because your why is the only thing that should be driving you. Why do you like to write? Why do you like to make music? Why do you like to make videos, you know? Maybe it's like an affliction the way it is for me, where you just can't help but do it. Or maybe there's like a certain theme that you want to convey. Maybe there's a message that you want to spread into the world. Maybe you just like doing it because it's fun. Whatever the reason is, you need to rediscover what that is for you. Tune into yourself and really analyze, like, why did I begin doing this in the first place? Because it definitely wasn't to get attention from other people, right? Because if it was, then it's not your hobby anymore, it's their hobby. That thing isn't your interest. Your interest is getting attention from other people. If you really want to have longevity in this passion, then it needs to come from a place of genuinely loving the thing and having some sort of purpose beyond just attention. You need to get to a point where you don't care if 1 person or 1 million people interact with your content. You just love making it. You just love making this art. You just love writing songs. You just love writing stories, whatever it is. You need to be in a place where you don't care how many people see it, because you're just happy that it exists and you're just happy going through the process of making it. At the ages of like 12 to 16, I was really into songwriting and making music, like playing guitar, playing piano, recording my music on Logic, and I used to upload my music to SoundCloud to share with my friends and family. You know, maybe this is a symptom of youth, but I think I really had high expectations for myself. I would see all these success stories of music producers going viral when they're like 15 and having these like insane music careers as these prodigies, and the entire time I was making music, in the back of my mind I was hoping that this would happen to me. I was hoping that somebody, some famous producer, would find my record on SoundCloud and like email me and be like, hey, I need to sign you to my label ASAP. Like, there was always a part of my brain that wanted that. And so when I was making music or when I was writing songs, a part of my brain was always thinking about how other people would perceive this. I would fantasize about showing this song to my friends or my family, for instance, and then being like, oh my god, this is crazy, how do you do this? And so it wasn't coming from a place of genuinely just loving the process. And that's why I quit music, because when I was 16, I was like, damn, I've been doing this for 4 years and I still haven't gotten like an email from Skrillex being like, I want to sign you to my label. You know, I was 16, I was dumb as hell, and so I gave up and I was like, okay, like I don't see myself going anywhere from here. And so I don't think I ever really loved making music. I think it was more so that I was hoping that this would get me somewhere, and I was hoping that people would listen, and I was hoping that people would care. I think that's really a dangerous place to be in with your art, is if the only reason you're making it is in the hope that somebody cares, or in the hope that you will become famous, or you'll make money, or you'll go viral out of it. That's not why you should be making this thing. Like, I'm not saying that it's bad to have a goal to reach a certain number of followers or whatever. All I'm saying is that if that's your only goal, and if not achieving that is dissuading you from pursuing this passion, then you might try reconsidering and try rediscovering why you like this, if you even like it, if there's something else that calls for your attention. The reason that I knew that writing and like entrepreneurship was right for me is because I genuinely care about those things. I love to write, even if like 0 people read it, like I still love to put it out there. You know, I have a blog, right? You should visit my blog, by the way, but in the very beginning when I was uploading articles, maybe like 10 people would read it, right? I didn't care though. I was cranking out those blogs like every couple of weeks or so because I just loved yapping about whatever. I just loved writing these essays about these books that I was reading, even if no one was reading my essays. And so that's how I knew writing was right for me, because like I don't care how many people read my stuff. Like I'm just happy to be making it. I'm just happy that it's out there, and I'm just happy that I've done something, right? And even if we take away the aspect of creating a finished product, it's just that practice of sitting down and writing makes me insanely happy. And that's how I knew it was right for me, because I just didn't have any expectations and I didn't care whether or not people cared. Okay, my third point is that you have to be your biggest fan, okay? Because even when nobody believes in you, you have to be the one to believe in yourself. Because remember, why you started this? You started doing this project because you love it, because you think that it adds value to your life, because you think that it can add value to your loved one's life and to the lives of people who you want to like address this piece of art to. And I think it's really important to show up for yourself for that reason. Even if nobody cares about your YouTube channel, even if you have like 2 subscribers, keep making your videos, you know, if it's something you love doing. This is why I love the concept of your childhood self and your future self, right? Because those are the only 2 people that you should really be trying to impress. Everything I do is for my childhood self. It's for like 12-year-old Gina, who was writing her first novel, which was really bad. Like the only reason that I do anything is because I want to make little me proud, and I want to make future me proud that I have already put in all this work at a young age. If you aren't your biggest fan, then like what are you doing, right? If you're not making stuff that you love, then why are you even making it? You know, there's this video I watched about book marketing recently, and the guy talking in the video said that the one universal tip for marketing any sort of book is to believe that it adds value to other people's lives. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then you're already dead in the water. Like you literally have nothing left to do if you don't believe in yourself. The moment you believe in yourself, you will put in the effort to achieve that goal. Because if you don't believe that this thing is worth creating or this path is worth pursuing, that subconscious belief is going to manifest in everything that you do. If you don't believe that your book is worth reading, then people will sense your pessimism and they won't read your book either. And of course, I'm not saying like that your goal should be to try to get other people to care, but for a lot of artists, that is the goal. Like my argument is not that that's a bad goal. My argument is that that shouldn't be your only goal. That's why it's so important to commit to things and to do things regularly and to finish what you start, because that's how you build trust with yourself. The reason that I'm so confident that I can finish writing novels is because I've written 8 of them. You have to prove to yourself that you can do this thing and that you have what it takes. Through that process, you're subconsciously building confidence within yourself, you're building trust within yourself, and that's the only way that you'll really be able to make something amazing, is by building up these little steps. And if you're not able to lay the foundation down, then how do you expect to build a skyscraper, right? Success finds people who keep going. It's really rare to have this sort of artistic passion. Ask most people what their passion is, like most people will not be able to tell you anything. So if you have a calling, if you have this innate desire to create, then you'd be crazy not to pursue it, right? So my final point is to not be embarrassed. There's so much pressure for like the first thing you ever make to take off. And sure, there are like a lot of miraculous success stories out there, but for the majority of people, that's just not the case. And I think glamorizing that is just not healthy for you or your creative process. If your video gets 5 views or your writing gets like 10 reads, that's not a sign to quit. That's a sign to keep going. Don't let these numbers quantify your greatness, because you know that you are great. You have to know that you are great before anybody else thinks that. You have to be your OG fan. You have to be your day one, because in the beginning, literally nobody cares except for you. And I think that this could be good exposure therapy, because yes, it can be very embarrassing to put so much effort into this project and have nobody look at it or nobody buy it or nobody care. But remember that you have already done the work. You've already put in the effort to creating this thing. And that's honestly all that you can do. And instead of focusing on things that you can't control, focus on creating your next project. It doesn't matter if people like the thing. It doesn't matter if people even know about the thing. It just matters that you've done the thing. So many people are unable to do projects, right? Everybody wants to write a book. How many of those people actually start? Very few. How many of those people actually finish? Even fewer. How many of those people actually publish? Very, very few. So by creating something and seeing it through till the end and putting it on in the world, you've already done something insane. You've already done something that somebody else has been wanting to do for years. You've already done things that some people will never do in their entire lives. And I think it is important to honor where we are in the moment, instead of looking at all these famous people and being like, oh my gosh, like why are they so much more successful than me? This person was successful when they were younger than me, like whatever. Because I think the internet and social media exposes us to so many of just like very, very rare cases, and we assume that that's normal because that's all we see is like all the famous people. We always see our bestsellers, all we see are successful artists, and so we compare ourselves to them and we're like, oh my gosh, like I'm the same age as this person and I'm not nearly as successful as they are. But by making something, you have already gained success. You've already fulfilled that part of you that wants to make something. That in and of itself is amazing. And at least you're doing something. Most people don't do anything. Most people scroll TikTok, but like you're making stuff, and that's awesome. And also remember that you don't look like a fool. Like you don't look like a clown for trying. You are not a clown. You are a clown if you give up because other people don't care, okay? On one hand, nobody cares. But on the other hand, nobody cares. Yippee! So like even if you suck, even if it's bad, nobody cares, and that's wonderful. Like you have so much freedom when nobody cares, when there are zero eyes on you. You can do whatever you want. Even if you have like 2 followers, like being grateful for each of those people, I think that's awesome. And I think social media really like warps our perception of success, because in social media we're just like, oh, it only got 100 views, like that's so lame. But in real life, like imagine speaking in front of 100 people. I think like social media just doesn't feel real because it isn't. And I don't think it's supposed to feel real. And just because you like flop or like you get like 10 sales on your book or whatever, that's not a sign that you should stop. That's a sign that you should keep going, because you're making stuff. You're making your childhood dreams come true, and you're making your future self proud, because maybe your future self will be a best-selling author. Maybe they'll look back on your current self and be like, wow, I'm so glad I did all of that because that was great practice for who I am now. Remember that nothing you do is an accident. Everything that you do helps contribute to becoming the person that you're meant to be. And I think that's really important to keep in mind, especially moving forward as an artist in a world where like everyone wants you to be like the best right out the gate, because that's just not realistic. But what you should keep in mind is your passion. To recap, the points that I talked about is 1, don't let your productivity rely on other people's validation. Keep going no matter what people say, because people will constantly switch up on you, and instead your desire to create should come from within you. So remind yourself why you do this thing that you're doing. And also remember that you gotta be your biggest fan, and constantly show up for yourself, and show up for your younger self, your future self, your current self, all of yourselves, because that should be audience that you're trying to impress. Finally, don't be embarrassed being seen trying, because the fact that you're trying at all is amazing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, remember to check out my Instagram, because that's where I post all my updates on my upcoming novel, Vaguely Human Figures. Let's go. You can read all about it on my website or like on my Instagram page if you're interested in weird literary fiction. Remember to watch my other videos if you like my vibe, subscribe, whatever, and I hope you all had a good holiday season and a good new year. See you later.